You have questions, we have answers. This is Jane Miller.
And this is Ken Miller. Welcome to our show, all about real estate with Ken and Jane. So today, Jane, we're going to talk about a very important topic, and the topic is whether you should acquire land and build your own dream home, or you should buy an existing home from a builder in a development. That's a lot of people. And the reason, I'll let you tell the reason why that's such a common topic, because you get asked that question a lot.
Yeah, I got asked so many times, right? A lot of buyers call me, say, hey, Jane, I'm thinking about, because there's not enough new construction. And especially sometimes there's a brother, sister, cousin, nephew, friends, they all want to get together. So do you know any place we can buy a larger piece of land so we can do our own development or even build our own dream home, right? A lot of people ask me that question. So I feel, today we'll take the opportunity to share some our own experience buying a land versus buying a new construction from the builder. So there's pluses and minuses, right? But first of all, the most important number one question you should ask is finance, because not everybody had that ability or financial ability to do that, to buy a land and build a home.
Yeah, and sorry, Jane, but just to add, and the reason being is because if you're going to buy your own land and build your home, the reason is that most likely, from our experience, the banks will not finance that. So you'd have to have you'd have to have the financial resources to afford the land and then afford to build it or have a private loan, because the banks are not comfortable lending somebody who's not in this, who's not a established builder by profession, the money to build a house, and they want so that's that's the most important quantifying factor is if you have do you have the financial capability to acquire the land, which is not cheap in New Jersey, and then secondly to fund the construction.
Yeah, I mean I have to share some. Our personal experience, right? Many years ago, my last life, I bought a. That time, obviously, we only can do what we can afford, right? I bought a very older home. It's like 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single family, but it has a huge backyard. But I was the corner lot, so obviously you can subdivide it. And because it's corner lot, there's a street, right? So you can subdivide it and build a home at the back, because this house the land is so huge. And then it's like, you definitely more than enough space to build another one. So when I bought this house, at that time, I was thinking I didn't have much money, so I figured I'll buy the house. I will save up, so later on I can build a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom for my parents, like a ranch kind of thing, right? Once again, this is a long time ago, 30 years ago story. Right. So I figured, get a ranch. At that time, I got a quote. It was very reasonable, believe it or not, like 50,000 at the time. Right. So I thought if I save, I could do it. So anyway, long story short, I did subdivide it, and I did build a house. But by then, I already had a master's degree working in the bank as a manager. So instead of build a little ranch, I built a 2-story colonial. Okay.
Wait a minute, Jane. Sorry to interrupt, but I think because I know more of the inside of the story. But didn't you? I think there's one important point you neglected to say. Didn't you run into resistance when you tried to subdivide it initially?
Oh yeah.
So that's the other, and that's one of the topics we're going to discuss.
Yeah, that's the second problem.
That's a second problem, but it's not that that's not that easy.
Yeah,
but luckily you were very fortunate because you didn't know enough back then to ask the right questions and do the research. You assume because the land is a certain size that there's enough physically, there's enough room to adequately accommodate 2 homes.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean the township and the zoning and everybody else is in agreement with you. But anyway, go ahead with
that's right. The question is, the first one is the financial. At that time, very lucky, the bank has this product called Progress Payment, right? What that means is, as long as you own the land or you purchase land, and the bank will lend you the money at every stage. Like for example, when the builder did foundation, and the bank will come check it if they think it's certified. Obviously, township have to give a pass as well for that, and then they will give you 10% to the builder. And then the framing, there's another 35%. I can't remember. So up to the finish. So the bank only lend, every stage. But now, fast forward, we try to do it about 16 years ago or something, right? And 15, 16 years ago, we had a borderland. We're going to do that. And I learned in a hard way, the bank don't do that anymore. So we were stuck. We bought the land. I thought we can go to the bank to get that loan, but they're no longer available. So at the end, we had to sell that land because there's no way we can have the cash to build it up to the way we want it.
Right. And when we're talking about the financing, we're talking about the option is if you select the land yourself and want to build your own house.
Yes.
But if you're going to buy from a developer in a particular lot or a builder that has a lot already secured and has the approval from the township, and the builder is going to build your home, financing is similar to to buying a resale home.
It's almost the same.
Right. So there's no way. So we don't want to confuse the listeners that we're not talking about, if you're buying new construction, you can definitely do it through a builder. This is just if you take the more unconventional route and you want to acquire your own land and then do everything yourself.
That's right. This show is about truly is about why who can buy the land build or why not, right? Because we have a lot of people calling me ask can they get a piece of land and build themselves. So that's why we figured we're doing a show dedicated to that topic. So everyone may have their own comments or may learn something from our experience. Mm-hmm. We pay the big tuition, so you don't have to. So we made a mistake, but you don't have to. So learn from our mistake. Hopefully that would be helpful to you.
Sure. And that leads to the second point. Obviously, if you don't have the financing, then you stop there. If you have the financing, then you have to do this. Part two is the due diligence. If you want to buy the land yourself, you have to choose the land. You have to do research. If you're not comfortable doing the research, hire somebody. Check with an attorney. But otherwise, you can check with the township. Check on the zoning. Is the land approved for a residential home that you want to build? And also the size you want to build it. You have to check with the zoning, the setbacks for the front, the sides. So that would be the first thing to do with the due diligence is the zoning. Secondly, you have to check the environmental restrictions, and we highly recommend for a vacant piece of land that you don't know the history about, you do a phase one. We hire an environmental professional to look at the prior usages of the property. They can study the fire maps, the historical usage. They would do an on-site investigation to look for any issues with contamination. Also do an oil tank sweep.
Yes, very important.
Because 50, 60 years ago could have been an old farmhouse there that had an underground tank. So you definitely want to make sure there's no environmental concerns. And at the end of the day, also wetlands could be a big factor. So if your environmental professional thinks there's any possible wetlands, then you may need to hire a wetland specialist, because if there's wetlands on the property, that could be a deal breaker. There could either be you either can't build on it, or there would be a buffer zone that you have to be so many feet away from where you could actually put your footprint. So you just need to know that your land is approved from zoning. It's got a clean bill of health for environmental. Also, are there sewers and utility lines in that area too? Or do you need to put in a septic system? So you have to know is a drinking water public? Is the city sewer? Or, those are all considerations as well.
Absolutely. I think we should spend more time on the second, because the first point, finance, is straightforward. I mean, do you have the money buy the land? Yes. Do you have the money to completely build the structure you want, your dream home? No. So we aren't there. So that's really, you can't take this route, right? So that's most of my client when they call, they fill in the first category. They can't. They think they had the money for the land, but they think it's in the bank land. No, they don't. Because they don't. This is not your profession. The risk is too huge, right? So that's most people stop there. But for those who have the fund, right, you have to be super, super careful. There's a lot of issues may rise during the construction. Say, for example, you bought a lot of good point, right? Say you have a useful piece of land, right? Actually, it happened. It's not only for the audience out there, right? I mean, it's not your profession. This is just you want to do, right? For try it, so not experienced. Even for the very, very experienced, the builder, sometimes they could misjudge. Long time ago, like 15 years ago, I remember that time, there was a very, very experienced builder. He built a lot of homes. So he acquired a large few acres of land. At that time, he felt, because that's zoning for 6 acres, actually not far from our house, zoning for 6 acres, right? So, but somehow he and his advisor, I'm not sure is the real estate agent or the lawyer or both of them, advise him they probably can go to the zoning, get maybe 1 acre. So can you imagine, right? They if you calculate the large parcel of land on 1 acre building, at the end, took them a long time, went through the zoning and planning, whatever, they went through it. At the end, they got must be 2 acres.
And so the implication is that the builder, obviously, if he buys a 6-acre parcel of land, his idea would be to have 1 acre per house, because his goal is to build 5 to 6 homes. But if the zoning only restricts it to 2 acres per house, that obviously limits it to 3 homes, and that's a big difference.
Huge
so
difference.
That means the land. That means the pro rata, the proportionate
the
price for the cost is he can't divide it as much.
Yeah. Say for example, in this case, right? I had a client call. They have 4 family members. They want to live together, right? If you bought a land, you think you can build 4 houses. At the end, you only can build 2. That's going to be, first of all, didn't achieve your goal. Secondly, the cost of the land is going to be huge, the additional cost to you. So, so that's very important. The zoning, what they allow. Like you said, Ken, the environmental study is super.
And we didn't even cover everything with the environmental study. You also might need a geologist involved besides the phase 1 person to look for, known or recognized environmental conditions as they're referred to, or potential environmental conditions on that land and also surrounding areas, which they'll get from getting the database of, surrounding, leaking underground storage tank sites, et cetera. You also want to be aware of the groundwater table, because the groundwater table is very, very important. And I think this happened in one of our clients ran into this problem in East Brunswick, where they wanted to put a finished basement, but they were able to achieve it, but they actually hit groundwater during the excavation. They had to set up elaborate dewatering, and they had to do a design with, I think, 4 or 5 pumps,
they'll add more cost.
Add a lot more cost, and it was a lot more cost. So the groundwater table, if you have a high groundwater table, that could be a deal breaker for certain things that you want to do to the house. Yeah,
absolutely. And one more thing is like you mentioned earlier, the public water and the sewer, right? If the area have no sewer, you have to have your own septic. You have to know the oil. You have to know the soil sample.
Sure.
Because the cost, once again, is a totally huge difference between the soil has a sand like us, or you can have other type of soil. Sometimes the soil just doesn't perk.
Yeah,
so that's gonna add a lot of more challenge to the engineer.
Of course, you have to know
the cost.
You have to know the soil, like you said, and the location of the septic tank, and that's a cost. But also, it might limit your ability if your lot in the back is short, depending on the location where the septic tank and the leaching field have to go. It could limit your ability to put in an underground pool. So you have to know. And also your septic is based on the number of bathrooms you have too. At least in the Central Jersey, that's how the county is regulated by the county. So you need to factor all that into your consideration. So if you've got public water, public sewer, and you've got the utilities accessible and natural gas on the street, that helps. That's very important things to have.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you have further complications.
Yes.
All right, why don't we take a short break? We'll be right back after these messages. Okay, welcome back to our show. We're discussing whether you should buy land and build yourself, or versus buy from a builder. That's buy a piece buy a property lot that's in an soon to be established development. And so we covered the financing, which if no money, you can't do the first
no
option.
Money, no honey,
right? And now we're talking about that if you do have the money and the honey, and you want to find that land and then build something yourself, that you have to do the due diligence. So we cover the importance of choosing the land, the zoning. You need to know the parameters. You need to check what size home you could build on the lot, the setbacks. We cover the environmental issues. We just before the break, we spoke about the groundwater table and the fact that you also need to be aware of the utilities, public versus private, because that can throw a monkey wrench in your plans if you need to put a septic system in. That's plus adding the cost and the location, and then also with the building design, if the groundwater table is high, then your ability to have a walkout basement and certain things, it's gonna really impact your whole scheme of design.
Yes, absolutely.
So anything else you want to say on that before we move to the third item?
I think we should move on because otherwise we'll never finish.
Otherwise we never finish, right. So here's an advantage. So we covered two things for land that are kind of like, well, you need the money and you got to do the due diligence. The advantage of why do people want to find their own land, and rather than why not just go for a builder in a conventional new development? Well, there's the customization. If you buy your own land, you can kind of find your own spot. Maybe there's a vacant land by a lake and you want to build your dream home and you want to have your own architectural design and have it, spread out a certain way. So it allows you more flexibility. That having been said, though, if you do build a home from a builder in a development, depending on the size of the builder, you can do some customization. If it's a big builder, they traditionally are very rigid, not as flexible. You can do interior, but if you work with a smaller boutique builder, you can do a little bit more,
much more custom,
much more than with a big builder. So so there is some opportunity to customize it. The big builders, they might give you just existing floor plans, right? But they're not going to start modifying. They might give you a choice of maybe 3 to 4 floor plans, but you're not going to be able to modify that. And whereas a smaller builder, you can kind of work with them and if you want 2 bedrooms on the first floor and each of them have a master bath, you can do that.
You can do that.
Do that. Do you find, Jane, with the new construction now that you're seeing, because you represent a lot of clients and you work with them that are buying from builders, do you find that the new construction homes coming off the shelf are now being built with the master bedroom suite on the first floor because of the need for that from the current population?
No, I think, Ken, there's most buyers today. First of all, in today's market, right, the inventory is still tight, and the builder tend to build a much bigger home compared with 20, 30 years ago. So average size of the new building is about at least like 2,800 to maybe 3,500 range, right? I'm not talking about extreme big house, which is of over 4,000, 5,000, but just average community home is about 28 to 35. That's a community home. And with that, most family would prefer, especially the home bigger than 2,800 or especially over 3,200, they always want to have a bedroom on the first floor with a full bath in it. And they may not need it. While the family come visit, they can use it. Even they do not need it, they would still add it because they bought a new home for the resale value. So the first floor have a nice size bedroom plus a full bath is always add extra value to the resale value.
Right, because even when you look at resale homes, you encounter when you deal with people in open houses, they're always looking at a lot of the older homes, which are very marketable, but they're looking at them to say if there's typically a lot of the older homes might just have the half bath on the first floor, and they're looking at taking the laundry room and maybe there's a family room and trying to figure out the best way to convert that into a living space because of the growing elderly population. And there's the concern or the need, to have the house, when they come people visit or they live with them part of the year. So it's a very useful thing. So now we're seeing that trend adopted into the new construction.
Oh, absolutely, especially after COVID. Right now, multi-generation live together is at its peak, I believe. A lot of family realize, they want the old parents live with them so they can take care of each other. They can help with the grandkids. Also, they can help, take care of the parents too.
And they want to avoid the steps. So that's why right. So it has to be the first level, which is the key. Okay, so that's something, So Yeah, so that's all important, the customization. So if you want to truly have your own land and build your own house, you can customize it to the inside as much as you want, and you can do the outside as big as you want based on the parameters of the land. Whereas in development, you may be a little bit restricted on. You will be restricted on that. I mean, the builders have an approved footprint, and I know you said with the exterior that the builders you can change the facade appearance, but I don't know how much the big builders are going to want to change.
No,
the design.
big builder no.
They're not going to. They want to keep it. They want to keep maybe different cookie cutter models, and they're going to alter it, but you're not going to have too many. You're not going to have totally
not too many choices. You can either have a brick or have a siding, or you can have stucco, but not much change for the big, because it can't be. They make 50,000 homes. They just cannot specialize with each request. But with a boutique builder, and that's achievable. I just had a client. They purchased a home and they want to change the look of the house, and they didn't like a boxy look. So the builder said, "Well, what would you like?" So they drove around, they saw something, a few photos they took, they shared, and the builders, the department, they come up with something actually was fantastic. I was blown away by what I saw. But just basically, they tell them a few pictures. This is what we want. They design something really.
Oh, that's pretty
really
cool.
Nice. Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So number 4, in the pros and cons, we're buying the land versus buying it from the builder directly on a pre-existing lot. There's more costs involved if you're going to buy the land. As we discussed, you've got the land acquisition costs. So you've got to do your research. You've got to hire the environmental hire You may have to hire an engineer, geologist, wetland specialist, because you want to make sure all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, that you have a very usable piece of land that complies with zoning and there's no environmental issues. So there's a cost in that. There's also, if you're going to build the house yourself, again, there's a cost involved in that, because then you've got to hire the engineer and the architect to design the house, and then you have to hire. If you're going to hire the builder, then you may have to hire somebody as a project manager to keep the builder on track, and or pay the engineer, who designed it to do the site and
quality
control inspections. I mean, the township, when you build something, the township has their inspectors that go out at all the different stages of the construction, from the framing, the rough plumbing, the electric. So they'll ensure safeguards, but again, you want to make sure that that everything is done right.
Yes.
So not just the township looks at the house in different phases, but they may not see.
They look at a different angle. They look from the township, most likely, based on my experience, they based on the code. They want to make sure you build a home safe. You make sure you build a home according to the code and according to the drawing plan.
Right.
But your own home inspector / engineer will check the quality.
And if you have a really good builder, sometimes the builder will pick up things on the architectural plan that are designed properly, but that might be adaptable. They might, like we had one builder that found something many years ago that found something that the architect did that he actually had a different suggestion that made the living space open it up bigger, and that's so you have a good builder, they can be very proactive and helpful to you in improving the functionality, the flow, and the floor plan of the house.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. So we discussed these costs. You need the time, the resources, the expertise. If you're going to take on the land and build the house, yourself, you got all these different things. Yeah. Versus if you build from a developer, you have a fixed cost up front. Okay. The builder already owns the land parcels. They already have a cost to build the size house
you just come see what you want, and then
see what you want. They have a fixed cost, but then you have to be mindful of what does that cost include. I mean, it'll include. I guess they still include a kitchen. They include the sinks. They include the plumbing. No, I'm just being, but they certainly don't include certain appliances, and they don't include many upgrades. So the cost if the new construction home might be, let's say, $900,000 or $950,000.
There's no $950,000 at the moment.
But I'm saying by the time you're done, you're going to be up another $100,000, $200,000
easily,
because if you want to upgrade the cabinets, you want to upgrade the lighting, you want to upgrade the floor covering, or if you want as opposed to having the builder standard kitchen, floor.
I just had 2 clients bought a new construction, and they haven't chose the kitchen yet, just at the beginning stage, right? They change some other tech, they may add something. One's work out with 100,000 upgrade, the other one work out with 160,000 without even touching the kitchen and the bathroom vanity yet.
Wow. Wow. So that's a factor.
That's with the builder. That's a buy new construction.
Yeah. And then another advantage, I guess, for buying with the builder is a timeline. That's typically is going to be faster process because the builder already has acquired the land, has the approval, and is close to getting, has the construction permit, or is close to getting it. Whereas if you're acquiring the land, you're doing all your own homework, and you have to start from ground zero.
May take much longer.
It may take much longer. And then lastly, we're almost out of time, the resale value. That's debatable, which is worth more. You want to say a minute left?
I think the thing is, right, based on current market, right, if you buy a big, well-known big builder development, that resale value seems higher because a lot of people prefer to have a community home. They are newer, there are a lot of neighbors, the kids can freely make friends and walk to the neighbor house. So that's all the benefit to it. So it seems to me the community home have a very good resale value. But it doesn't mean the boutique builder build doesn't, but it just depends. Some people like Apple, some people like Orange. But it seems to me recent years, the community home have a lot of interest. Buyers interested.
So, and lastly, always consult a real estate professional so they can give you the proper guidance. And whatever you decide to select, it's a big investment either way.
Or you decide.
Yes. All right, very good. We're out of time. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Thank you.